All right, we're going to go ahead and stand up and face the east. That direction there.
Shema Yasharala, Ahaya, Alahaya Nawa, Ahaya,
Ahaya,
Achad.
Akha,
Shema Yasharala,
Shema Yashala,
Ahaya,
Ahaya,
Alahaya Nawa,
Alahaya Nawa,
Ahaya,
Ahaya,
Achad.
Akha,
Shema Yasharala,
Shema Yashala,
Ahaya,
Ahaya,
Alahaya Nawa,
Alahaya Nawa,
Ahaya,
Ahaya,
Achad.
Akha,
Hero of Israel,
Hero of Israel,
Ahaya our power,
Ahaya our power,
Ahaya is one.
Ahaya is one.
Praise the Most High.
All right, all right. Okay. Going to go ahead and get started with Exodus, the 20th chapter. All right, we're going to Exodus 20 and 1. And Ahia spake all these words, saying, I am the Most High thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Ahia, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Ahia thy power in vain. For Ahia will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Ahia thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Ahia made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not Ahia speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for Ahia is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where Ahia was. And the Most High said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I will call my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. All right, let's have our readers come forward. Second Chronicles 31.
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Brother Azar, tribe of Judah, house of Yasharallah. This is Second Chronicles chapter 31, verse 1 through 5. Now when all this was finished, all Israel that were present went out to the cities of Judah and brake the images in pieces and cut down the groves, threw down the high places and the altars out of all of Judah, Benjamin, and in Ephraim also, Manasseh, until they had utterly destroyed them all. Then all the children of Israel returned, every man to his possession, into their own cities. And Hezekiah appointed the courses of the priests and the Levites after their courses, every man according to his service. The priests and the Levites for burnt offerings and for peace offerings, to minister and to give thanks, and to praise in the gates of the tents of the Lord. He appointed also the king's portion of his substance for burnt offerings, to wit, for the morning and the evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, and for the new moons, and for the set feasts, as it is written in the law of the Lord. Moreover, he commanded the people that dwelt in Jerusalem to give the portion of the priests and the Levites, that they might be encouraged in the law of the Lord. And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel brought in abundance the first fruit of corn, wine, oil, honey, and of all the increase of the field, and a tithe of all things brought they in abundantly.
Shabbat Shalom, brother Gocc, son of Judah, son of Israel. Verse 6. And concerning the children of Israel and Judah that dwelt in the city of Judah, they also brought in the tithes of oxen and sheep, and the tithes of the holy things which were consecrated unto the Lord their power, and laid them by heaps. Verse 7. In the 3rd month they began to lay the foundation of the heaps, and finished them in the 7th month. And when Hezekiah and the princes came and saw the heaps, they blessed the Lord and his people Israel. Then Hezekiah questioned with the priests and the Levites concerning the heaps. Verse 10, and Azariah, the chief priest of the house of Zadok, answered him and said, since the people began to bring the offering into the house of the Lord, we have had enough to eat, and have left plenty, for the Lord has blessed his people, and that which is left is this great store.
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shalom.
Atazawan Makad, son of Judah, son of Israel. Kind of lost myself. Picking up here, I think it was at 11. I'm correct? Okay, thank you. The water. Then Hezekiah commanded to prepare chambers in the house of the power, and they prepared them. Verse 12. And brought in the offerings and the tithes and the dedicate things faithfully, over which Caniah the Levite was ruler, and Shimei his brother was the next. Verse 13. And Jaleel, and Isaiah, and Nahath, and Hashal, and Jeremoth, and Izabad, and Eliel, and Ismachiah, and Mahath, and Benaiah were overseers and under the hand of Caniah, and Shimei his brother at the commandment of Hezekiah the king, Azaroth, and the ruler of the house of the Most High. Verse 14, and Kor the son of Imah, the Levite, the porter toward the east, was over the free will offering of the Most High, to distribute the oblations of the power and the most holy things. And the next hymn were Eden and Midian and Jeshua and Shemaiah, Amariah, and Shekinah in the cities of the priests there, set office to give their brethren by courses as we to the great as to the small.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm Brother Kayah, House of Israel, tribe of Judah. This is verse 16. Beside their genealogy of males from 3 years old and upward, even unto every one that entereth into the house of the Most High, his daily portion for their service in their charges according to their courses, both to the genealogy of the priests by the house of their fathers, and the Levites from 20 years old and upward in their charges by their courses, and to the genealogy of all their little ones, their wives, and their sons, and their daughters, through all the congregation, for in their set office they sanctified themselves in holiness. Also of the sons of Aaron the priests, which were in the fields of the suburbs of the cities, in every several city, the men that were expressed by name to give portions to all the males among the priests, and to all that were reckoned by genealogies among the Levites. And thus did Hezekiah throughout all Judah, and wrought that which was good and right and truth before the Most High his power.
Shabbat Shalom, family. I'm Ak Abadia. Verse 21, and in every work that he began in the service of the house of the Most High, and in the law, and in the commandments, to seek his power, he did it with all his heart and prospered. 32:1. After these things, and the establishment thereof, Sennacherib the king of Assyria came and entered into Judah, and encamped against the fenced cities, and thought to win them for himself. And when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib was come, and that he was purposed to fight against Jerusalem, he took counsel with his princes and his mighty men to stop the waters of the fountains which were without the city, and they did help him. So there was gathered much people together, who stopped all the fountains and the brook that ran through the midst of the land, saying, why should the kings of Assyria come and find much water?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shar Nagan Yasharallah. Verse 5. Also he strengthened himself and built up all the wall that was broken, and raised it up to the towers and another wall without, and repaired Milo in the city of David, and made darts and shields in abundance, and he set captains of war over the people, and gathered them together to him in the street of the gate of the city, and spake comfortably to them, saying, be strong and courageous, be not afraid nor dismayed, the king of Assyria, nor for all the multitude that is with him, for there be more with us than with him. And with him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Most High, our power, to help us and to fight our battles. And the people rested themselves upon the words of Hezekiah and the king of Judah.
Got one more.
Sorry. Where did I leave off? Okay. King of Judah. Oh, thus saith after this did Sennacherib, rib of king of Assyria, send his servants to Jerusalem, but he himself laid siege against Lachish, and all his power with him, unto Hezekiah the king of Judah, and unto Judah that were at Jerusalem, saying,
Shabbat Shalom, family. Brother Gocc Akia, tribe of Judah.
nation of Israel. I'm going to be reading out of the book of 2 Chronicles 32, verses 10. Thus saith Sennacherib, king of Assyria, whereupon do ye trust, that ye abide in the siege in Jerusalem? Doeth not Hezekiah persuade you to give over yourselves, to die by famine and by thirst, saying, the Most High our power shall deliver us out of the hand of king of Assyria? Have not the same Hezekiah taken away his high places and his altars, and commanded Judah and Jerusalem, saying, ye shall worship before one altar and burn incense upon it? Know ye not what I and my fathers have done unto all the people of other lands? Were the gods of the nations of those lands any ways able to deliver their lands out of my hand? Who was there among all the gods of those nations that my fathers utterly destroyed, that could deliver his people out of my hand, that your God should be able to deliver you out of my hand?
give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away so you can use me. We give ourselves to you, Father, each and every day. Please use us to do your will, Father. You can use me. Here I am. Here we are, Father. We're gathered together on your Sabbath. Our lives are in your hands, Father. Please guide us each and every day. Longing to see, Father, what you have planned for us. We appreciate your mercy and your kindness. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away each and every day. My life, Father. Sacrifice my flesh so I can be spirit 100% of the time, Father. All my dreams, all my plans, Lord, I place them in your hands. Please guide me every day. And I give myself away. Give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. Give myself away. To you I belong. I give myself to you. Each and every day, Lord. Life is not my own. Life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. I give myself away. Life is not my own. Each and every day, I give myself away. I give myself away. I give myself away. I give you all of me. I give myself. I give myself to you. I give myself away.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here on the lesson here. And of course, today we're going to go into some significance so as far as the new month situation, or what people call the new moon. And then we'll touch on the lesson, more exclusively, which, let's see, what's the name of the lesson here? No fear and faith here. But let's go into some scriptures here first on the new month. So we're going to go to Exodus 40, 1 through 38 to get one situation on a new month. Exodus chapter 40, 1 through 38. And of course, we're going to probably skip through this one a little bit because it's a little bit longer, but we want to go to at least a few of the points here. All right. Exodus 40. Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 40, verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and cover the ark with the veil. And thou shalt bring in the table and set in order the things that are to be set in order upon it. And thou shalt bring in the candlestick and light the lamps thereof. And thou shalt set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the hanging of the door to the tabernacle. And thou shalt set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And thou shalt set the lever between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and shalt put water therein. And thou shalt set up the court round about, and hang up the hanging of the court gate.
All right, jump down to 11.
Verse 11. And thou shalt anoint the lever and his foot, and sanctify it. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and wash them with water. And thou shalt put upon Aaron the holy garments, and anoint him, and sanctify him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt bring his sons, and clothe them with coats. And thou shalt anoint them, and thou didst anoint their father, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. For their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations.
All right. And you see there, even in the temple, we were dealing with a level of what you would call foreshadowing of baptism. See, even in those times, they had to do the same type of things. So it's not a new concept that we're coming from, and I wanted to put this out there because it's been a popular question about different things, and we don't realize that a lot of this stuff stems back even further than the law, and we're going to touch on that today. You know, I had even the questions about the head coverings and things like that. These things are beyond the law of Moses. They were doing these things ahead of time. Okay, it's just certain things were now established amongst the people to understand when Moses came along. All right, but they were already there. So we're going to touch on a lot of these things today. Or should I say, not a lot, I'll say a few of these things today, just to show that guess what? Some of this stuff that we hear in the law even went way back to Adam's times. Okay? So, let's go down. We're going to skip down through, let's go to 30. Let's start at 30 and read.
Verse 30. And he set the lever between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and put water there to wash withal. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet thereat. When they went into the tent of the congregation, and when they came near unto the altar, they washed as the Most High commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up.
All right, and these things will happen again. It will come to pass. The Most High will dwell in the midst of us. Christ will direct us in our ways. You know, we just have to do the right things now. You know, while it's still day, as it says. Realizing that it's high time to wake out of sleep. And again, it mentions again this concept of washing. Let's go to Isaiah 1:16 for a second. Because we put it out there before that you have to realize even the priest had to be right. It didn't matter who, Most High wasn't a respecter of persons. Don't forget, he wiped out 2 of Aaron's sons and Aaron still had to do some work after his son's been killed. That's what you have to realize. So there's no exceptions to this. We all have to come on board here and do the right things and be made clean. Read that, please.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil.
Okay, keep reading through 20.
Verse 17. Learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Come now, let us reason together, said the Most High. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of the Most High hath spoken it.
All right, here it is. It's once again, it's that obedient thing. It's like kryptonite to an Israelite. Obedient. But if we do that, we get so much out of the deal here. So what's the problem? That's the question, I guess, huh? What is the problem? It's to the point where the Most High had it when we put this out there before as well. It tell you in the scriptures that even the priests was so messed up that they had a period in which they were actually tying rope to their ankles to make sure if that high priest went in before the Most High with the Ark of the Covenant, for example, if he dropped dead, they would just pull him out of there. They didn't go in and get him. They pulled him out with the rope from behind the veil. That's how bad it got for us. And see, the thing is, it's no different today. There's constantly people, you know, that's why it says the laborers are few, that stand up and say they're going to do the right things, but then when they get a little authority, they lose their minds. They sin. And we saying, but guess what? So do the people. Y'all know better. Y'all watch somebody going off and still support them because you messing up still. So that's a shame. And if we want to get through these tough times ahead, look, let me tell you something. We better start paying attention to these scriptures and paying attention to these people. You know, it says the scriptures are written for our learning, that were also dropping dead regardless of their rank. Because that should put us in a very humble state, because who are we? I ain't no Aaron. But he was still dropping his sons dead, wasn't he? So the whole thing is, that's what you have to realize. It's a change going on. And we're going to go into it because this day in particular is the 4th, right? We have the new month that happens on these intercalary days. So you have the 4th month, right? That we have to deal with. And we're going to get into what's significant about that now. We're going to go to Jubilees here, which has got to do with the secrets of the times. Moses received more than just the 10 commandments on the mount. Okay, I tell you that in the Apocrypha. He received also the Jubilees, which means it has to do with time. It's a way of measuring time by the Most High. Okay, we're going to read some significance here of the 4th month. Jubilees 3:25, okay, through 32. Because I made a statement that a lot of this stuff that you think is just from the law of Moses went beyond Moses. There were things being celebrated before Moses existed. We just assumed that it was Moses because that's what tends to be the big hang up here. Even when it comes to Christ, a lot of people deny Christ based on them having this allegiance to Moses. Not understanding that the whole priesthood and everything that Christ was dealing with, the law under the order of Melchizedek, which was king and priest at the time, was actually beyond the law. Okay? Or should I say beyond the law of Moses, as people call it. All right? Because the law always was in existence. All right? Read that, please.
This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 3, verse 25. And to Adam also he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat thereof. Cursed be the ground for thy sake. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the bread and bring in the bread that sweat of thy face till thou returnest to the earth from whence thou was taken. From the earth thou art, and unto earth shalt thou return. And he made for them coats of skin and clothed them, and set them forth from the Garden of Eden. And on that day in which Adam went forth from the garden, he offered as a sweet savor an offering, frankincense, galbanum, and stacte, and spices in the morning, with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. And on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts, and of cattle, and of birds, and of whatever walks in, and of whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak.
Right. So stop right there. So the bottom line is, as the scriptures tell you, the whole creation is waiting on us to come back and do the right thing. Again, I said before, just imagine if you just had to communicate like dogs have to communicate. I'd be pretty upset too if I was an animal. Waiting on us to get done with this foolishness. You know, I'm just muddling around, making just random noises and hoping this thing gets what I'm trying to say. It's a lot riding on us doing the right thing here. I don't think we truly realize at times the responsibility that the Most High has for us here. We're still causing the same confusion. Nature is suffering right now because of us. We keep blaming whatever. Global warming look, it comes down to the people that are supposed to be guiding this world are on the bottom and enjoying themselves being on the bottom for some reason. All right? Let's continue. Read that.
For they had all spoken one with another with one lip and with one tongue. And he set out of the Garden of Eden, all flesh was in the Garden of Eden, and all flesh was scattered according to its kinds, and according to his types unto the places which had been created for them. And to Adam alone did he give the wherewithal to cover his shame of all the beasts and cattle. On this account it is prescribed on the heavenly tables as touching all those who know the judgment of the law, that they should cover their shame and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles.
Let's stop it right here, though. Look what it said. On this account, it is prescribed on the heavenly tables as touching all those who know the judgment of the law. So the law had already been in place. It's just certain aspects of it needed to be put on paper, if you will, to be understood on a higher level. Okay? And then Christ brought it to its fullness. That's why it says Christ is the end of it. He really made us to understand it. We just got to follow now. Okay? Read.
And that they should cover their shame and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles uncover themselves. And on the new moon of the 4th month, Adam and his wife went forth from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Elda, in the land of their creation.
And it's funny because I don't think people catch this part too often. It says that they should cover them shame and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles uncover themselves. We don't realize most of the stuff we're following right now is based off of what the Gentiles are doing. We think we think it's just some natural thing Jake is coming with. Nah, there's a lot of stuff that it wasn't even done in our neighborhoods that we do based off of trying to follow the Gentiles. We got to get back to our original understanding. Again, we were supposed to teach them the right way. There's certain things, man, where brothers wear today, no way we would wear back in the day. Like, man, that's a little suspect here, brother. What's going on with you? But now everybody's just wearing it like it's nothing. It was not our way. And here it is. This is a reality check for us because we think, we like to be the innovators, but the truth is, all they do is sprinkle a little bit of foolishness into our neighborhoods, and yes, we run with it. A lot of your expressions you've used over the years have came straight out of these Masonic temples. And you ran with it because some rapper said it. And made it and become 2 times the child of hell in your neighborhoods to each other. Based off of what you got from some Masonic lodge somewhere, not realizing it. You didn't know what a thug was before the East Indians gave you that. That came out of the East Indies. It was actually a demonic thing. You can look it up. It had to do with people robbing people for demons and different things. Check the history. We didn't come up with that. All right? 1 Peter 3:18 through 21. But that's why it says the truth shall make you free. A lot of us have become slaves to a system we truly don't understand. And by default, we stay on the bottom. Okay? Let's get into this a little bit more here. Because, the point is, this was always the message. This was always the message. Noah didn't know to keep clean animals for no reason. He didn't do it randomly. The commandments have been here since the beginning. All right? Read that, please.
This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 18. For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to the Most High, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of the Most High waited in their days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls, were saved by water. The like figure whereunto even baptism doth also now save us, not the putting away of filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience towards the Most High by the resurrection of Yeshua Christ.
Right. So again, baptism is a thing. It's not a new concept. Okay? A lot of these things were foreshadowing what we would go through. The whole deal is it was never meant to be something like you're taking a bath. It was so that you understand going forward, okay, from this point, I'm forgiven. I can start again here. That was the point of it. To have that new life, being born again. All right? So these are normal things that, we, don't understand in the scriptures that we need to get back. Jubilees 5:20. Let's go there now. 5:20 through 22. And I said we need to get back because, again, there's a lot of stuff our forefathers and foremothers were doing that we have lost over time. And in fact, a lot of times we philosophize away in our desire to do whatever it is we want to do. All right? But at one point, we used to be the world's conscience. That's why they couldn't wait for us to fall. It tell you that in the Apocrypha. They used to hate watching these people that were walking around lawful when they doing wrong. Now we do it to ourselves. We can't stand when somebody's in the neighborhood doing the right thing. Back in the day, we used to be like, that's a goody two-shoes. Yeah, she a goody two-shoes right there. Trying to influence that person to be wicked. Make them feel bad because they're doing the right things. Right? Read that, please.
This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 20. And the Most High said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle, and beasts, and fowls of the air, and that which moveth on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make him an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in the respects of as he commanded him, in the 27th jubilee of years, in the 50th week of the 5th year, on the new moon of the first month.
All right. So again, these are not new concepts. They were already dealing with the new months before the law of Moses. 29. We're going to jump down to 29, and we're going to read through 30.
Verse 29. And on the new moon in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into the deep below. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and on the new moon of the 1st month, the earth became visible.
All right, so there was a complete cycle that went through in which these new months, as you can see, had significance. There was portals opening and closing. These are days in which the heavens are in line with us. Now that we've humbled ourselves to the real information to understand when they are. And there's power going on here in the heavens. It tell you that when there's certain portals that open, then power does come out of them when you read the book of Enoch. So this is not by chance that we get this information. The Most High is trying to give us back power. It's just that we've gotten too comfortable being on the bottom and being powerless. Okay? Jubilees chapter 6 and 23 through 38.
This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 23. And on the new moon of the 1st month, and on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month, are the days of remembrance, and the days of seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
All right, so that has nothing to do with Moses. We're supposed to be keeping these days. They were doing it beforehand. It says again, the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th are days of remembrance. Has nothing to do with Moses. All right? It's just that Moses was bringing a lot of this stuff to our remembrance through Yeshua, who was speaking forth to him, giving him information to give to the people. All right? Remember, we came out of Egypt. So there was all kinds of weird stuff we was into coming out of there. No different than today. Right? You have to expect there had to have been a time period in which they would have to now write down certain things so we could, get these concepts again. All right? Read.
Verse 24. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the 1st month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new moon of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened.
All right, jump to 30. Just repeating a few things there. Jump to 30.
Verse 30. And all the days of the commandments will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tables, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or for year to year. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to the reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast.
Right. So if we stayed to the plan here, 364 days, we would be on point with every feast. It wouldn't be a thing where it's so hard to understand here every year. Again, I was a part of the situations before. I've been here long enough to remember brothers and sisters, every time a feast day would come up, arguing over, no, wait, no, the moon ain't, no, this, we got to wait for this and that. And I would always just say, especially when I was in leadership, I said, brothers and sisters, what's the point of this? If you're arguing over it like you're arguing, the Most High, you think the Most High is hearing you? Foolishness. We just be like, man, you can't count. They be sitting here getting the councils and everything over this thing. Come to find out we were all wrong. So that shows the Most High can make a fool out of you. Sitting here arguing like they had no sense. And it still came out to we were all wrong. It wasn't time for us to know yet. He said at the very end, knowledge would be increased and we would get understanding. But once the understanding comes, the deep thing is who's going to be humble enough to receive it, right? Because it tell you that, guess what? It's not just us. It's engraven on the heavenly tables. The angels are doing the same thing. They're preparing the same situations in the heavens. So this is what we must do. Get on course with the Most High for a change instead of it being the other way around, right? Let's continue.
Verse 33. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, and they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth shall I declare it unto thee, and it is not for my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tables the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feasts of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. There will be those who will assuredly make observation of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon.
All right, so if you're counting by the moon, you're incorrect. You're always going to have problems figuring things out. To the point where a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, you just follow whatever the Jewish people are doing. The same situation. You can't stand these guys, but they still following them though. So the whole thing is, hey, thank the Most High, he gave the information back to us because we can actually make ourselves free now. We don't have to depend on anyone else when it comes to this. 52 Sabbaths is what it is. I don't have to consult no rabbi sites or no mess like that to get my calculations. I didn't even have to look up and wonder the sliver of the moon and all that confusion people deal with. 52 Sabbaths. As long as I can count to 52, I'm okay. Right? Continue.
Verse 37. For this reason the years will come up them when For this reason the years will come up them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, and the holy with the unclean, and the unclean with the holy. For they will go wrong as the months and the Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For reason I command and testify to thee that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death, thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new moons and the seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood and all kinds of flesh.
All right. And that's what we're doing too. We're following the Gentiles and everything. Can't wait to get our hands on a piece of pork. Matter of fact, that's what was in the churches. Every Christmas, it was a good old glazed ham up in there. Right? All because we continue to just not care what the Most High's plan is. Most people, you tell them, okay, you know Christmas is about Babylon and Nimrod and all that. What do they say? Well, I know why I'm dealing with. I know why I'm celebrating it. As if they came up with the idea. Right? That's the way we've been in the churches. And I say that we because I was there too. It's nothing to look down on someone, but it comes a point where we got to put away childish things as a people and just deal with truth. Right? Now, I wanted to point this out before we go a little further into this lesson here, though. It says new moons. Because people might say, well, why does it say new moons then? If you go into the Hebrew here, it's H2320. Okay? It's Kadesh in the Yiddish here, Kadash. But it says, excuse me, I'm not even saying it right with the twang there. But the point is, it says from H2318, the new moon, by implication, a month. Monthly new moon. When you actually go into that word, because the word moon is Yarak. Not like my name, it doesn't break down like that. That's just a nickname Elder Ricard gave me. But the point is, that's the word for moon. This word here, when it talks about these months, should have been translated as H2320, which means a month. So it was intervals. You have 360 days on the calendar, and then there were days that divided those for seasons, which would add up to your 364. Okay? So that's the whole deal with that for those that are new and don't understand why it's called new moon. Now, we're going to now touch on this lesson here. Of course, it's going to be a little shorter for the means that, that we did this other part ahead of it, but we're going to, it's called No Fear and Faith. And we're going to deal with the commentary on this first part here. Because I think in these last days, even though we're in truth, there's still a problem. And that problem is that we have a deep level of conditioning when it comes to fear. Okay? We've been taught if you don't do it a certain way, you don't operate in this society a certain way, only bad things can happen to you. Okay? And we've actually walked in that way, and it's been nothing but to our own detriment. We've been getting all the diseases and everything that's going on with us are based off us in our fears, because a lot of them could be resolved if we didn't have so much fear. We run to these so-called medical professionals for everything because of fear. Okay, and it's a lot of our people, I must say, that are dying as a result. We all have family members. You try to tell them a lot of times, look, don't do that, man. Look, I got some statistics on that. You go into it trying to help them, and they don't hear you because of fear. So we must, in the truth, learn to overcome that. Otherwise, we will fall to the same fate as them. All right? We're not exempt because we're in the truth. No, the Most High is looking for us to now stand in faith in these last days. Okay? And he's going to hold you accountable just like them. If not so, and not really more so. Okay? Let's read that.
This is a commentary. Fear is a disabling thing. Many times it is our fear which keep us from getting to the next level of anything we hope to venture into. It also affects the way we progress in our spiritual growth. We must learn to suppress our fears, as the times ahead will be full of fearful sights and much tribulation. Let's go over a few scriptures to help in our learning to overcome fear.
All right, let's go to Ezekiel 3 and 4 through 11. And yes, there's certain fears that are healthy. For example, the fear of the Most High. But the ones that tend to be unhealthy are the ones that we lend an ear to more often. And it actually causes us to now deal with certain levels of not being able to follow the Most High. All right? So we have to go into this now. Let's see what we got here first. Let's read that, 3 and 4.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, verse 4. And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech, of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not too many people of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely I had sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. Behold, I have made my face strong against their faces. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads, as an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee receive in thine heart, and hear with thy ears, and go get to them of the captivity unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, Thus saith the Most High Power, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear.
All right. And I was thinking about certain dynamics of this. Look, we're going to be in situations where we got to talk to our people, and they're going to be threatening and doing what they do, you know, sticking the chest out and all of that, but you're still called to tell them the truth, you know. And there's a reason why he made our foreheads hard, man. We're sitting here thinking it's to be against each other when the whole time it was there so that you could help each other, so that you could stick in there. It's funny, for all the way, you know, we're so stuck on oppression, as the scriptures tell you. We trust in that to the point where we won't even listen to our own brother. When you go out here and you sit here and you teach them the truth and things like that, you'll find that they're more against you than if someone else would apologize. You street preaching, if I would have been Joe or Osteen or some of these guys that really just not for our turn, Satanists, if I had been these guys, I wouldn't get this pushback. It'd be silence when you're trying to teach. But when we are out there, or even, you know, I told you I was joking last week, but I was serious too when I said, you know, Q&A is Q&A, question and answer. Even in those dynamics, you always find Jake trying to upstage Jake. It's foolishness, man. It's foolishness. And in these times where, here it is, he said, look, I made your forehead harder. It was for you to help each other, not for foolishness. And respect each other for the fact that, hey, look, this person is telling me that based out of love. You know, look, he said, look, and this is funny. This sounds like a rap video, if you ask me. When it says, look, fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. This is in a rap video, everybody's hitting a pose, right? Trying to look tough, all this foolishness, looking silly. You know, Jake. Showing how many tats we got. We still got to go to them, even in their mess. Right? It sounds like us. 1 John 4 and 15 through 18. And see, the thing we haven't figured out yet is the way you look, and even the other nations done figured it out, means nothing. It's your actions. It's your actions. So that sometimes they just look at us like that and just for entertainment. Oh, yeah, what was it like in prison? Yeah. Let me buy that book from you. And we'll feed into it. Not realizing we were never meant to be that guy anyway. We were supposed to have a delicate eye, for example, towards each other. To care more about each other. But instead, We have to learn that from others. We don't even get the concept. All right? Read that, please.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 4, verse 15. Whosoever shall confess that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High dwelleth in him, and he in the Most High. And we have known and believe and love that the Most High had to us. The Most High is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in the Most High, and the Most High in him. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love.
All right. So it's a process you're going through too right now to learn what love really is. And you're going to have times, look, that's what the apostles went through. That's what the prophets went through, where they were dealing with real love. You're going to have to risk your life maybe for someone else in these last days. But it's going to start with this process you're going through right now. Learning that everything you knew as truth, for the most part, was a lie. And you have to learn again, especially what it means to love, because a lot of you weren't loved at all. So when that whole mess about treat people the way you've been treated, if you've never been treated right, you have no idea how to do it. I get it. But if you don't bring that now, you don't bring that effort to learn what it means to love, you're going to deal with fear in these last days. You're going to deal with it on a whole nother level. That's what you have to understand. Your past is what it is. It's your past. Leave it there. Learn love now. The Most High has it for you. It was Satan that hated you the whole time. Okay? 1 John 5:1. Let's go there. Through 5. No fear in faith. When you truly deal with the faith of the Most High, you realize that he will take away that fear. He will take away that, oh Lord, what do I do if I'm not dealing with this system mentality? Because a lot of our family members, unfortunately, and our friends, you find that they had that same issue when you came to them with the truth. Like, it's almost like, oh, don't say that. They might find out about that and come through this door and deal with all of us. That was that fear programmed in them. And guess what? A lot of us were doing the same things. So that's the perspective we must come from now, that if we want to get this, if we want to make it through this, if we want to truly operate in faith, it tell you that it was times when Christ was healing and stuff, where he would raise the dead, he was moved with compassion for the people. Sure, they needed faith, but it was also a connection that was there. He cared. All right? And it didn't mean in some flowery way. He generally cared for this person. No fake stuff. All right? Read that, please.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 5, verse 1. Whosoever believeth that Yeshua is the Christ is born of the Most High. And every one that loveth him that begat loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and keep his commandments. For this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. For whatsoever is born of the Most High overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High?
Right, so that's a part of it. And it's the secret of it all. If you want to overcome the world, you better deal with the love of the Most High. A lot of us, that's in our past, should I say, in times past, a lot of our forefathers, I should say, foremothers, they went through the truth until death simply because, guess what? They got that concept. They were able to do it because they got that concept. Okay? It wasn't something great about them that you can't accomplish today. A lot of people get caught up with that. Am I good enough? What do you mean? If you weren't, he wouldn't have given you the information. We all have the potential. It's just the problem is we've kept ourselves relegated to a slave mentality where you're told you can only go but so far. But the Most High never relegated you to that. He said, be thou perfect. If you're perfect, you can cast out that fear. So that's the efforts we must put in. They must be about the Most High's business from here on out. No more foolishness about the laws done away with. The law is going to be actually protecting you in these last days. If you haven't noticed already, every time you turn around, there's a recall on some food somewhere. It's just like, man, you trying to think, did I get that number or whatever they mention on the news? And it's all because everybody's breaking the law. Now, we know some of it's propaganda, but the reality is a lot of it's because they're breaking the law. They're feeding the cows whatever they want to now. They're dealing with pork and all this other stuff right next door to something else. And the reality is the law was working, like Elder Ricard said before, in your favor, and it's still doing that today. And it's going to help you in these last days when it comes to fear, especially the little things, whatever, vaccines, all this mess. When you find out what's in this stuff, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to obey what the law says. I'm not shooting myself up with no monkey DNA or whatever that is. That's a little crazy. Here it is. Everybody else like, what's wrong with that? So the law is protecting you. All right? Yeah, kosher pork. What is that? Hebrews 13:5. Let's go there real quick. The law is protecting you right now, whether you realize it or not. A lot of people are suffering from certain sicknesses. It's only because we still have to get on a certain level, man. We're developing. Trust me. It's a process. You know, we have a lot of strongholds we're still dealing with. You know, I was on the line the other day with the conference class, and I was talking about just even our tendencies to eat certain things, even when we should go through that process of fasting and letting the body recover. It's actually what's causing us to keep from getting over these things. We have to allow that level of cleanness to come back into our lives. Okay? Fasting was that way, and it still is. The things the Most High recommends, I notice they don't seem to have an expiration date on. Funny how that works. Read that, please.
This is the book of Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me.
Right, so it's going to come that time you may have to say, look, brother, you threatening and all that, do what you got to do. But this work going to be done. You understand? So the whole thing is, look, let your conversations be without covetousness. That's another reason why we're weak in this society. We go with the course of this world. What the world wants, I want. That's why every year you buying a new phone, even though that thing ain't even broke. I'm going to just be real with you. I'm probably ruining somebody's day because they probably just asked for another one, huh? Is what it is. You're worried about the course of this world. You have to start using more wisdom with how we operate. That's why we tend to, first of all, we spend the most money as a nation of people when it comes to consumerism. Okay? But that's another reason why we tend to be broke all the time. We're still slaves mentally. We haven't freed ourselves with that truth that John 8:32 speaks about. The truth shall make you free. All right? 2 Timothy, 1:6-8. He said, be content with such things as ye have. Man, that's almost non-existent today. That's a weird concept today, isn't it? Be happy with what I have. I gotta have this, I gotta have that. You're actually hurting yourself. That's a funny thing, and they try to make this a poor thing. They're not telling us it tends to be a thing that they put upon our people. But when you listen to successful people and they speak about how they got successful, now we know a lot of them at the top was worshiping Satan Okay. But one thing they do point out that's true, though, you notice that a lot of times they don't try to have the most expensive thing. I ain't talking about them silly celebrities. They're meant to influence your judgment. I'm talking about like the guys that really have money. You see them walking around, they got like, you driving that car? You got that kind of shoes? Like, what's going on here? Right? Looking like he just came out of Walmart, and this guy's got millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. That's one of the problems. See, we think in a backwards type of mentality that they taught us and that we learned to like. So the whole thing is when it comes to, look, let your conversation be without covetousness, we have to take that on in these beliefs, in this understanding. Because it's going to come a time where all of us have nothing. And we're going to be strictly dependent on what the Most High has for us. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past. For a change, let's let manna be enough. How crazy is that? Stuff is raining from the heavens, food, and we still complain. All right, let's read that, please.
It's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 6. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High, which is in thee by the putting on of my hands. For the Most High hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partaker of the affliction of the gospel according to the power of the Most High.
All right, so don't sell out. Understand you're going to go through some things for this gospel. Paul had to. We brought out before. He was robbed, probably by Israelites. Okay, I was going to be real. Imagine just you going to a people and they rob you. Like, what? He said he was robbed. He was whipped on several different occasions, imprisoned, spat upon, stoned to the point where they thought he was dead. Okay? And here it is, it says, look, this is a key part to pay attention to. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High, which is in thee by the putting on of hands. What happens is when you ask for prayer, brothers and sisters, you got to go forth in faith. You can't get that prayer and then walk out. I don't really know about this or that. You got to start understanding that you're trying to do what the Most High said to do for a change in your life. He understands that. And walk in faith. It says, for the Most High has not given us the spirit of fear. It was the adversary that did that to you. Stop blaming the Most High for those things that happened to you. All right? But of power and of love and of a sound mind. If you allow him to work, your mind will become sound. You'll begin to deal with reason here. Things will no longer be irrational and erratic as they once used to be. All right? And that's how you get rid of that fear. No more boogeyman stuff. Philippians 2 and 10 through 13. No more boogeyman stuff. You've been conditioned through horror movies, through all this other stuff to keep you complacent, to keep you in fear, thinking that something terrible is going to happen every time you try to step up on faith. That was for a purpose, so that you never walk into your true potential. All right? So understand, even your favorite horror movie, you're doing something to yourself psychologically. I hate to tell you that. Read that, please.
This is the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 10. That at the name of Yeshua every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Yeshua Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is the Most High which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure.
All right, if you want to talk about fear, this is the type of fear you should be dealing with. When it comes to doing the right things, you should be afraid to do the wrong things. Okay? And deal with the proper, thought process here. Because look, it keeps giving you the keys here. It's giving you something else here. It says that at the name of Yeshua, every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth. This is the thing. If you're walking in the Most High, if you're walking in the Spirit of Christ, it'll give you that authority. It'll give you that key part of your life you're missing. How do you think Peter walked on water? You think it was a magic trick? As these silly guys out here trying to promote? Nah, he did it because for a moment he realized that authority. He had no fear for a second. Then that wind went on him, and he forgot all about it. That's the story of a lot of our people's struggles. A lot of people in this world, you're doing fine, but in that rocky moment, you lose it all. And the Most High is trying to tell you, you must get beyond that wind and understand he actually is in order of that wind too. Nothing can come, that's the thing, nothing goes down without the Most High's authority. So the fear must go. All right? Let's go to one more here. Let's go to Matthew 10 and 19. Matter of fact, two more. One more, sorry about that. Hate to say one more that don't mean it, but it is what it is. 10 and 19 through 28.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 19. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour that ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brothers shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child. And the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye unto another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. Verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
All right. So that's the bigger picture here. Like all this stuff is going to happen. It's just a guarantee. You're doing the right thing, there's going to be people that come against you. I examine even these little small level things. You may be on, for example, a forum, and you're sitting there talking about the unhealthy things of, I don't know, let's say you're dealing with some pregnancy situations. This is something I come across not too long ago. And you're on the forum, and the people, you're telling them, you know, this has a high level of issues with childbirth and stuff if you're dealing certain scans and stuff for the, you know, to check out the baby and all that, and really they're to be done, you know, in actually high-risk situations, not really on a regular basis like people do it today. You have a person saying that, trying to bring the statistics, show all that, then you'll have another person who's on the exact other side of the spectrum that wants to do what they want to do, telling that person to, you know, be quiet and, yeah, you must be one of those guys, and making it, you know, making it an uncomfortable thing when all you're trying to do is help them, help their situation. That's the same thing. When you realize what this is, when it comes to the mark, it will be the same way. So you must prepare yourself now. You're already seeing little signs of it. You're already seeing that, look, people in most cases, I should say, they tend to go with whatever the society is dictating to them. and will become a problem against you just because you want to tell them the truth to help them. You understand? So look, he said, look, this is going to happen when they deliver you up. He didn't say if. When they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it should be given you in that same hour what to speak. So you don't even have to worry about a speech. The Holy Spirit will tell you what to say in that time, to condemn those that decide to stay on that path of wickedness. All right? And it says, look, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. You must make through it all. You must deal with that fearless life, okay, that the apostles eventually got to the level on. Okay? Let's see. Amos 3:3, this is the last one through 7. And I say that because even Peter, when he was put up to be killed, they were going to hang him like they did Christ. It tells you. But he said, nah, just put me upside down. I don't want to go the same way my Savior did. A lot of people don't know that. He was actually, but imagine that being your discussion when somebody's telling you they're about to kill you. That don't sound like somebody fearing anything. Isaiah just laughed when they cut him in two. Most High was with him, man. That's why we have to get over this thing we've been conditioned with, man. It's only going to undo us in these last days. That's what they'll use to come at you. They're practicing right now. You got these people talking about stalking and all that. That's governmental mess that they started. They've been doing that since probably who knows how long. Probably as long as the CIA and all those guys been around. Stalking people to intimidate them from doing the right things. Okay? So let's see. Let's deal with this last scripture here.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Will a lion roar in the forest when he hath no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Have a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city and the Most High had not done it? Surely the Most High power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets.
All right, and that's the way it always was. So that's something you need to have faith in too. You know, sometimes we lack faith because we're not quite right yet. So when I was wondering, well, what if the Most High ain't hearing me? Because, that's in the back of our heads. But if we're walking right, then we have nothing to fear. We have to understand the Most High never left any prophet out there when he was going to take down an empire. He told them the truth. He told them when to move, and that was it. They did what they did. Jeremiah had the same thing, leaving Babylonians before they took down our situation. Most High said, look, get you, Baruch, and the people that think like you, and get up out of there now. That's why we have to get over that too. No fear and faith. Walls, drones, robots, whatever it is they got is for the wicked. Your job is just to keep the path, put down the sin, and the Most High will remove your fears and doubts. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to move into Q&A. Again, it's Q&A, question and answer. All right? You have comments and stuff. You know, we have Tuesday and Thursday classes for all that good stuff. But let's start dealing with Q&A. All right? Yes.
Hi. I wanted to know about, I had a couple of questions. Like, what is the point of the portals opening and all of that? Like, why are they opening, and what is the empowerment of, like, I think you said something about the word, my mind heard empowering or something like that. So what is the point of that? And then, is it in line, and then it says, like, what is the point of remembrance? if this was all before, you know, Exodus, if this was before, um, you know, what took place here on earth, what are we remembering?
Okay. Hebrews 11 and 1. That's one answer there. But while he's getting that, you have to realize that everything that you deal with is written in a foreshadowing of different events to come. When you're living with all the traditions, Passover wasn't about the priest in the temple. It wasn't about the sacrifices of the lamb without blemish. It had to do with Christ coming forth, which would bring forth deliverance for Israel to receive that promise in the end. So a lot of the things that you see in your scriptures have significance down the line, you see. Now, when you talk about portals and them opening, there's different reasons. I mean, there's even a portal, I tell you in the book of Enoch, for locusts to come through. So there's different reasons. It's not one answer for that. Now, there are different things, like I said, in Enoch, which says that during at certain times of the year, there's certain power that comes forth. For what purposes? Well, there's different. There's blessings that happen in the spiritual areas that you can't see, you understand, spiritual realm. I mean, it's just so many different things. It's not one answer, but there's power that comes with that. And see, the elites understand that. That's why they built things like Stonehenge and these different things, trying to harness certain energies and stuff at different times of the year. Okay? So, I mean, I'm sure it's way deeper than I can get into. But understand that that's something that happens. It's many different things. Like we've been taught about the water cycle and stuff in school. And yes, there's a cloud that's been since the creation, but there's also elements and things that come out of portals. Cold, all that stuff. Okay, so that's different powers in itself. And there's angels over those different things that come forth. Remember they came with the whole thing of Jack Frost and all this stuff? Yeah, these are cryptic things that have to do with the angels and all that. Okay? Let's see. Yeah.
The book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
All right, so there's a lot of things that go on in the invisible and we have to remember and things like that, which also helps us to process different beliefs and understandings going forward, and faith. If we have faith, for example, and this is something you'll find that happens, and brothers will tell you, even when you're going out there to preach to people, if you understand that, wait a minute, no. This stuff is coming through portals and all that. I remember people will be panicking too. Man, it's about to rain. What time is it? Man, what's going on? You sure it's about to hit? The rain about to hit. Brothers just go over in the corner and pray. And because we understand what's going on here, there's no rain for some reason that day. It was just about to rain as you feel a few drips. But as soon as you go to talk, just last time we were out there, the first brother we spoke to, as soon as we started talking to him, it didn't rain. It was done. And it was supposed to be at that time in which it was going down. Never. And matter of fact, it didn't start raining for those that were there until we got in our cars and was ready to go. So that's the reason why it helps knowing these things. Not only is there power going forth through these portals and all that, like it says, it's also giving us power, authority. Understanding there's no coincidences to none of this. If it rained, I would have just assumed, okay, maybe that's just the Most High saying this ain't the day. No big deal. But I pray ahead of time and say, look, Most High, we out here to do your work. And hey, they say it's going to rain, what's going to happen? And he does what he does. So even that in itself gives you more authority in this earth. Okay? You good? Yes, you got another one there. You took a mic. Oh, okay. I'll give him a break then.
Oh, so the last two. So then, why are there feasts? I don't know if that's
They're what?
I don't know if that's like redundant to ask, but like, why are there feasts that go along with that? And then the last question, I think you kind of answered in the sermon, but like my personal thing is like I understand a lot of this, and it really is magnifying and it's illuminating and things like that. But what spirit is that I think that it's a spirit, but I don't know. What is it that makes it? What is the fear of the end? Knowing who I am, and knowing who this path. What is that like? Don't end fear. Like I don't want it to end fear. Is it like a Stockholm? Like it's like in my head, my rationale led to be like a Stockholming type of situation, possibly.
You mean Babylon? In Babylon, or?
Yeah, no, not even like not like Babylon, like just like yeah, like it's like I know what's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Well, look,
But the
I'll say
fear
it this
ends up
way.
being like I don't want it to end. Like I don't want to meet my creator. That's the fear. What is that? Why is there that fear of meeting my creator?
It depends. Depends on why I don't want to meet him. Because ultimately, this ain't the place to be. This is garbage. So as long as I'm right, I ain't had no problem with meeting him.
Well,
Now, if I'm
there's
not,
a desire. There's like a desire. That's what I would. That's
no,
what
I get it, but I'm saying like it's just what it is. I don't want to
The
call it
trembling.
Stockholm. I don't want to call it Stockholm, but I'll say this: we've gotten so used to this world that it's hard to grasp the next. But the bottom line is, we were never meant for this world.
Right.
So it's just what it is. We got to get over that. This thing is done. You understand?
No, there's knowledge. That's
Yeah.
I have knowledge of that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's nervous.
anxiety, almost.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm sure you ain't the first. There's plenty of people that think the same way. But then every time you think like that, just look around a little slower. Just process it all in and be like, okay, yeah, this thing is done.
Well, the verse is that God doesn't
know.
give us a spirit of fear and of sound mind. Like that's what I reiterate.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a sense of trembling that'll occur, and I'll be like, oh God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. Like this is not the truth. That's not the truth. That fear.
Well, that's true. We read that, but that's the thing. It's a process. That's what everybody has to understand about this. It's a process. I'm just here, just like the elders and deacons, to help you get along that process. You're still going to have to figure that out for yourselves eventually, because those trials are coming. Now, the blessing of this is you're in fast-forward mode, brothers and sisters. When I came into the truth, I told this story before. When I came into the truth, there weren't churches all over the place. There weren't this many leaders to help out people and answer calls and deal with it. Elder Ricard was on the move doing certain things the best he could, and I was in one place with nobody else around. So you're actually in fast-forward mode, so praise the Most High for that. It's not like you're behind on things. You're actually fast-forwarded. You understand? A lot of things I had to learn through trial and error. That's unfortunate. That's a hard way to do it. You actually have people that've been there and done that and could tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. Okay? So you'll be fine. It's a part of it. I wouldn't call it, I'm not necessarily saying it's Stockholm, because, even outside of this, we could read in the scriptures, we were dealing with those kind of things. To the point where he said, are we a homeborn slave? Like we only think so far with our mentalities. And that was before Babylon. You understand? But we are destined for something greater, and it's been long overdue, quite frankly. Now, I wanted to go to something on your other question real quick before we get to the next one here. This is Deuteronomy 7. All right. And we're going to start from, let's see. Excuse me, let's not do 7. Well, 7's good, but let me go to 6 here so we can get right to the point here. 6 and 1, and we're going to read through 3, Because you said, why do we have to remember these days, right? Why should we?
Yeah, like,
Right.
why do we have to remember? And yeah, like, what is remembrance and why are there feasts in line? But
Right.
yeah.
I mean, it's a big answer, but I'm going to try to expound on this one here so we could go to the next one. I want to, we can probably do a whole lesson on that. Read that, please.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Most High, your power, commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear the Most High thy power, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, that the days of thy life and that the days may be prolonged. Verse 3, Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Most High thy power of the fathers which promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey.
All right, real quick. So, and we're going to jump down to 6 here, and I'll just read it so we don't have to keep passing the mic back and forth here. All right, 6 and 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be a frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be, when the Most High shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten them before, then beware lest thou forget the Most High which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. So the whole deal is, with every holy day, one of the main reasons you should do them is also for your children, for your future generations, so that they understand the importance of the Most High, his heritage that he's given to us, his commandments, okay, and continue to teach it from one generation to the next. It's like saying, what's the purpose of Christmas in that? If we think about it, why do you think they're doing that? So that we pass on the confusion to our children. So the Most High gave us these days in remembrance of certain significant things that happened and what can happen in the future if we do the right thing. And we have to teach it from each generation. If we don't, what do the children have? Think about it. What do they have? What are they left to? They're left to the wolves.
Right.
So he said these are days of remembrance so that we would never forget them. What does he say? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Everybody done forgot the Sabbath.
Right.
Now we good. We're going to deal with Sunday here. Right? So he gave these for key, first of all, also key indicators of who's actually with him. Because he also said that the Sabbath would be a sign between him and, his people. So all these things are significant in their own way to keep us once again empowered with the Most High. And if we don't teach them, where does it leave our children? Well, I'll tell you where it leaves us. Look at the ghetto. There's your answer. So each one has its own significance in its own right. And we just have to link them with precepts to understand, like, their foreshadowings, the different things they had significance, running into. Like we read today, on the the new moon and the fourth moon, Adam and Eve got kicked up out the garden. I think that's a lesson we should teach people, especially our children. Like, you want to see what happened to Adam and Eve here, son? Let's go over there a little bit. When they was disobeying their father, they got booted out. So that's something I want to remember. And you notice, even when it's talking about the different portals and things closing, it was on that 4th month. So these are just things to keep us focused. There'll be a time in which certain things may pass away, but the Most High's commandments are forever, so we have to work on them now. All right? Got any other questions there? You good? You all right?
Man, two more. Y'all
No, I'm gonna
have
to pass it. I'll get you after. I'll get you after. I was just making sure. I'll hit you after. Okay. You got good questions.
Yeah, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Every season change is a double Sabbath. Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure about everyone, but this
Oh,
one
okay.
is.
This
Yeah.
one is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Is there a scripture for that that I can look at?
Well, they all, any holy days are considered Sabbaths. Let's see. Go to Leviticus 23.
Leviticus 23. Okay.
All right. Let's see here. It says, and the Most High spake unto Moses, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Most High, which is to proclaim in to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh is the Sabbath of the Most High and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Most High in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Most High, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And then, I can't read all of this, but the bottom line is anything that has to do with a feast day and stuff like that, it's a holy convocation. If you're dealing with holy convocations, for example, tell you in Nehemiah, you notice that when the people tried to come in during the Sabbath, what happened? He was about to fight them over it, right? So those days were not to be disturbed, but it goes through them. You have, let's see, you got Passover, you got your unleavened bread situation connected to it. Let's see, no servile work. First day, you should have holy coordination, all that good stuff. Let's see, let's go to the beginning of months. 1 second. Because it's all the same. And I think it actually said it when we were reading Jubilees earlier. 1 second. Okay, there we go here. All right. Yeah. This month shall be, this is Exodus 12 and 1 through 2. It says, this month shall be unto the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. And it says, speak to all, ye unto all the children of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take of every man a house according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little, now this is going into the Passover. Let's continue down past that. Let's see. 1 second. 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. You should keep the feast of the Most High throughout your generations. You shall keep the feast by an ordinance forever. Okay. So let's see, the first dish. Anything you can, like I said, you can read this on your own. It's a long reading. Anything that has to do with any kind of feast days were what you call holy convocations. So we had to prepare. Everything was shut down. Like you had a day of preparation and everything was shut down, and then we did our feast and stuff like that. There was no regular doings. You understand? Like I said, when we read Jubilees earlier, it kind of went into that and said that these are the days of remembrance. When it said also about our Sabbaths, your new moons, your Sabbaths, and all that, it was mentioning those for a reason. Because we kept the Sabbath, but we weren't even in that time, we were keeping certain Sabbaths, but we weren't keeping things like the new months at the right times and all that. Okay, so the Most High said he despised our feast days. All right? But yeah, you probably read this later. It's a little long here. But to help you with that understanding on the keeping these things as Sabbaths. In fact, I might pull a different one too. But you got another question there? While I do that?
Yes. I was watching this video, and it was a Hebrew Israelite group in Miami, Florida. Oh.
Go ahead.
And there was this group of gays and lesbians, and he was preaching the word. And they were dancing, shaking their behinds, in front of the leadership, and then they put on some music, and they were just doing all kind of vulgar gestures and dances, and it was Judah that was out there doing it. And I said, boy, I bet God turned them over to a reprobate mind. But my heart was so grieved. I don't know, once he turns them over to a reprobate mind, is there any prayer that we can do to
If he did it, I don't know if there'd been a prayer you can do for that. That's like, What did Christ say? Can Satan cast out Satan? Like, that's the same thing with the Most High is not going to undo what he decided to do. You understand that? You can try to ask for pity upon someone or something like that, but if he's going to have it go down, that's just what it is. A reprobate mind, that's a, I mean, it may appear like that sometimes, like, but you're not the one to know if that's really what it is. Because if you really consider, right, it's like we look at it through the lens of someone else's problem, but we forget how far we went when we were sinning. So you don't really know who's reprobate in that situation. You only assuming maybe because of what you saw, yeah, that's a reprobate right there. But you really don't know. I'm just saying, just think about it. Like, that will put you in this place of the Most High. You don't know. There's people that was doing all kinds of buck wild stuff. They was probably out there flicking the glitter around, you know, with chaps on out there. And now they in the church right now. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you the truth. So, I mean, it's no special prayer for that. We just pray for who we can. And if it be the Most High's will, you know, he'll still give them that opportunity to come around. I mean, I don't know where they were for that. Would they add a parade on purpose or something?
No, they were in front of this department store.
Okay.
And they must have had a boom box because they brought this box and they turned the music on and they were doing all kind of vulgar stuff.
Okay. Well, look.
It was mostly men. And then some of the women that were standing around had bras and underwear on. I mean, it was terrible.
Okay.
You thought you were in Hollywood,
Okay.
you know. Yeah.
Well, hey, it's those times. Like I said, I still haven't seen those crosswalks everybody's been telling me about, this rainbow colored. So it is what it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I said rainbow colored. I remember I was telling the joke. I was like, rainbow colored. Like, so when it like, you know how you get the no walk sign? What's on that joint? Like a dude skipping or something? Like, how do I get across this rainbow colored crosswalk? This thing is crazy, man. This thing is out of there. Yeah, you gotta jump on a unicorn to get there. Get on the other side. You have another question there? You good? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, actually, I wasn't going to ask, but because you said this, it actually has to do with offenses. When I go into the gym, in the women's locker room, a lot of dudes be rolling up in there, you know, and I really get offended, so I don't know.
Huh?
Yes.
Are you talking about this new thing with people
Right.
trying to be women type of thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
huh?
I
Is that
yeah.
a thing? Okay, go ahead.
So I really do get offended, so I don't know where's the line, you know, with me, like, trying to walk the walk, but really being offended by these people. I don't,
You
yeah,
get a new
so,
gym or something. I don't know. You
They're
do
all
some-
the same.
You hit some crunches
all
at
the
home or
same.
something, man. Some grown man up in there, you sitting there with a dress on or something.
Right.
And you know
Yeah.
some of them probably just using that as an excuse to be around some women. There's some sick people out here, man. I'm just saying it the way it is. So that's the thing too. In these last days, it's going to be very hard for us to even function soon. That's why we are going to be more so having to pull away from the world. You know? There's always a park to do pull-ups in. I'm just saying. I do pull-ups in the park. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Also, when you was in your lesson, you was talking about the thug was a demon. It is a demon, and that's out of the. You were saying that was in the Buddha. Was it Buddhist or something you were saying? Yeah, and the Buddhist also to add to that, the thug is the guy demon, and then the female demon was the
go
diva.
ahead.
The diva.
Yeah. Is you asking me a question or?
No, I was just adding to what you were saying, because you tapped on the male demon was that thug thing, where guys call themselves a thug, but females that call themselves a diva, that's also a demon as well.
Right. Well, just a reminder, folks. Q&A. All right. I love you all, but Q&A, question and answer. I'm definitely, divas are are gods that are worshipped. Okay? So sisters, please stop calling yourselves divas. All right? Moving on there. Next question.
Yeah. So, how you doing, Elder?
Yes, sir.
So, you said that to did it be considered a double Sabbath? So I just want to ask the question. So, what does it mean on not Deuteronomy, Sirach? I think it's 33:9. Because when I read this, not now, but back then, I had understood this that the days, the holy days that the Most High gave us in Deuteronomy are the days that He hallowed, like you said from the beginning, and then like the other days, like Purim and like the seasons and all that was what our forefathers did. So when I read this, I was assuming that the other days outside of the law are those holy days are considered ordinary days. Unless I'm wrong.
Definitely wrong.
Okay. Can you
For
explain
example, is a feast of dedication, is that a day that would go under that?
Well, I could like the feast of dedication.
Wait one second. I'm sorry, brother. Sirach, was that?
33:9.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, like the feast of dedication. I'm not saying not all of my holy day, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like in Deuteronomy and Leviticus, the Most High gave us them holy day. Like it seemed like them came out the mouth of the Most High God, and like the way I proceeded, like the other day, like the feast of dedication and all these other ones were things that our forefathers had made a holy day among themselves and was written on a heavenly table because something that they experienced within this life we live in. So they made them particular days holy, and it was written on in the heavens. But like the way I see it, like the holy days that He put in Deuteronomy, those were days that the Most High gave from the beginning to keep. If that make any sense, you know what I mean? So I would think I'm just saying. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the things that were given in the beginning were also those other days. But the high days are the days in which someone had to, for example, all men had to be before come down to Jerusalem. So that's the significance. That's the difference.
All right.
Still doesn't have nothing to do with still the way you have to respect them. So that when you're reading this, that's all that's saying. That's not saying you can now just do what you want on those days. It's still a calling of the assembly, the holy convocation. So that's the difference. So it's not saying that because those days were just as long. These were days like we put out there before Moses.
Right.
So if Moses kept those same days, and that's why I asked you Feast of Dedication, because guess what? Christ kept the Feast of Dedication.
Right.
Why are we going to be different in 2019?
Well, you're right.
Okay. So that's the thing. If everybody understands that the Feast of Dedication is not one of those 3 days, right? He still kept it.
Right. I guess more so I was saying was like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I guess certain days were considered high holy days, and then there's other days that's holy day, but they're like considered ordinary day. They're not high holy days. If that make any sense, you know what I mean?
But that's why I was distinguishing the difference. The difference was there were certain ones where you had to come to Jerusalem as men, for example, and deal with.
Which was three. You talking about the
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the difference. But that doesn't mean we don't keep the other ones. As long as you understand that, we're still supposed to keep them. Christ kept them.
Okay. Because like the reason why I said that because some not saying I believe it, but some individuals don't honor like Purim because they say that Purim wasn't I guess you can say ordained by the Father. It was something our forefathers, they experienced, and they honored that day and called it Purim. You know what I mean?
But that's philosophy. I'm gonna tell you why. Because as I mentioned with dedication, right?
Mhm.
Dedication was a day that we came up with, right?
Right.
But the Most High confirmed it from heaven.
Mhm.
So that's philosophy. We've been dealing with certain days that were actually given approval from heaven.
Okay.
So we can't go on what people are having their opinions about. We have to go on what was done. Fire came from heaven on certain days, and people say, "Oh no, let's not do it." What? I think that's pretty confirmation for me.
Right.
You see, so I'm going to keep what Christ kept. If He did it, I'm not going to be different.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Well, good question.
One more, Elder. Shall I go ahead?
Shalom. My question is it's in Second Chronicles, and it's talking about the Levitical priesthood and their positions, and I see a porter and courses. What is that? Do you, because what my understanding was that it may be the choir, and it may be something to do with the choir. And it's only Levi the only ones that do that.
I'd have to go into it to look at that. What you're talking about there? What scripture was that?
It was in Second Chronicles. They read it today. I seen both the words courses and porter.
One second. Was it in the reading, or what do you mean it was just passage or something?
No, it was. I seen it. I want to say somewhere in the middle of the chapter, teens.
Okay, one second. I see porter. I don't see courses.
Okay.
You mean horses?
No, course. COURSE.
I gotta get the verse there.
Let me see.
I think she's saying courses.
Yeah, COURSE. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it is. Courses.
Oh, okay. What verse is it? What's in? Okay, one second here. I got it.
Verse 16. I see courses. And 17.
You said 14? 18 or 14? She said it was 16. I don't see no 16. First Chronicles. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Okay. All right, let's look at this here. And then courses. Oh, it's just talking about like a special, like when you go into the Hebrew here, it's talking about a special, like a division or section. So like it says here, and he appointed, this is verse 14, according to the order of David his father, the courses of the priests, meaning the division or company of the priests to their service, so whatever jobs or responsibilities they had, and the Levites in their charges to praise, so giving them an order to deal with maybe the song stuff, minister before the priest as the duty of every required. So that's all it's talking about.
So it is considered like a choir?
No, you could be in the choir.
Okay.
There would be a special type of course, but it's talking about just different responsibilities. A certain group would do this or do that. No difference when they were in the wilderness. You had, for example, certain tribes that were over certain responsibilities, not tribes, of the priesthood, for example. They may be over just carrying the ark. Right. Somebody may be a group for this, carrying this or cleaning that. So it's just talking about that, just certain groups together. You understand? Yeah.
that was just for the Levites.
In this particular situation, yes. This is for the Levites. Okay. But again, this is about the priests, not just Levites. These are priests, actually, responsibility-wise. Because there were plenty of Levites, but not every Levite was doing what the priests were doing.
Oh, okay.
You see? So it's talking about something in particular here.
Okay.
Assignment. Even when you look at some of that stuff, they had certain months where certain teams would come in to do certain responsibilities in the temple, and they would cycle through them.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. All right?
Okay.
All right, good question.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else here?
Shabbat Shalom. I just want a little bit of clarification on Isaiah 1 and 17. Now, seek judgment is real clear. Relieve the oppressed is very clear. Plead for the widow is clear. But when it says judge the fatherless, are they saying to help them to do righteous? When they say judge the fatherless.
I mean, that's part of it. Like you're actually speaking for that person, you know, trying to help. Like you have, for example, orphans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So it's the same thing. Like you would kind of represent them in different situations or try to help them along. Just putting that effort in to help them too. That's all I was talking about. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so. But probably if there was a synonym for judge, it would be more clear.
The judge.
Well, I mean, because when I think of judge, I'm thinking, you know, of
It's not talking about killing nobody. I'll make that clear. Okay.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's not talking about that. It's just talking, just helping them with certain things that may go on, governing, like you said, just looking like everybody's accounted for, if you will, in the community. Yeah, that too. Defend. That's another way to put it. You're just trying to take up the cause for this person who doesn't have any family to, help them along or watch out for them, stuff like that. Just like a widow may have that situation. If they have no family, when it came to, the different things, that's why the brothers eventually, they had to get jobs because actually, truth be told, it was supposed to be, even in the New Testament, a family was supposed to relieve the widows so that it wouldn't be on the church. But a lot of times, even today, families leave that person that should be looked after out in the cold. You sit there and you talking to sister, where's your family? Oh, they over there, but they ain't doing this or that. I'm like, man, that's what the world has become. That used to be second nature. You didn't have to tell someone back in the day to look out for someone that's of age. It just wasn't a thing. Family automatically took up that responsibility. That's a whole nother story. Good question. Anybody else? We're good? All right, we're going to deal with this, the announcements first, or is it the...
You can do...
Yeah, we're going to cut that, Mark. Go ahead and cut that.
You can do announcements or first-time visitors, up to you.